Welcome to Flip Nerd Live, discussions with and training from America's very best real estate investing professionals. We meet live twice a month to discuss what's working now and get your questions answered. We broadcast live inside of a private online community, which you can join for free by visiting flipnerd.com/live. Let's start today's show. Hey, what's up, Tony? Welcome to the show, buddy.
What's up, Mike? Good to be here, man.
Yeah, glad you're here. Thanks for those that are watching live here. Let us know where you're joining from. We're going to be talking a lot today about what's going on in this market. Tony's been an investor for a long time. I've been in the game for 15 years. I think he started a little bit before me. And hopefully we can impart some wisdom today. If you guys have questions, for those of you that are watching live, we'd love to try to answer some of your questions. So make sure you kind of chat them in here. Tony, really excited to see you. Always good talking to you. You and I talk actually fairly regularly, and so it's always insightful. I know we're always like bouncing ideas. What are you seeing? What are you seeing? And today we're going to talk about that publicly, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love our conversations. I love you and I both have the entrepreneurial spirit, always doing different businesses and doing different things, and we have a lot of the same clients, so we get to see what's going on behind the scenes. So looking forward to talking about what people are doing and what we're doing to navigate through everything. Yeah,
today, and just for some perspective, for some context for people, like I'll say our conversation started off today with me saying, I always bite off more than I can chew, and so that's kind of where I'm at. I know a lot of folks are feeling that, but you're right. I think some of what we'll talk about today is just the importance of people staying resilient and just focused on kind of winning and doing whatever it takes, instead of just bailing out and quitting, and or moving on to the next thing that will inevitably get hard as well. And you can't have been in this game for 15 years. How long have you been in? You've been like 17 or 18 years, something like that?
20. This is my 21st year. I keep saying 20 years, but it's actually my 21st.
Okay. So a little bit longer than I thought. So yeah, you can't have been in the game for that long without having some war wounds and some things that'll allow you to understand that, hey, you've been through tough times before, right? And you know what it takes to kind of move past that. So hey, before we jump in, if anybody's watching this right now, you've been in the game for 21 years, so a lot of folks already know who you are, but maybe tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into real estate and what your business looks like today.
Yeah, 21 years ago, Carlton Sheets no down payment system. Saw that on a late night infomercial one night. I was in college waiting tables, and you see the testimonials. I'm making, I've got 100 properties in my portfolio, $1 million net worth, making $100,000 a year, that kind of thing. So, that sparked my interest. I'm like, well, shit, I have no money. I want to make money. So, it's perfect. So I had probably $1,000 in my account, spent $200 on a course. And within about 5 months of buying the course, I had my first 2 properties closed September 2001. So right at 9/11. Okay. When I bought my first 2 properties. And so from this day, still buy properties with no money down. And, I've got a team in Wichita, Kansas that runs my real estate investing business while I'm in San Diego. I've been here for 7 years now. And like you said, we can talk about ups and downs, man. I've been through many, many ups and downs, and not just market cycles, but just ups and downs in general. So I know some people are feeling it right now. Maybe they're stuck with inventory that they're trying to get rid of. And, I've got some inventory that I've funded for other investors around the country that I'm having to clean up. So I've got some wounds that I'm getting ready to have here pretty soon as well. But yeah, it's just been an evolution of the last 21 years of building the business, figuring out how to build a team to sustain without me, being able to do more, smart marketing and just smarter business practices in general. And, for the first 10 years, it was a lot of, mistakes, figuring things out and not having groups like Investor Fuel and the mastermind that you run to lean and support on. And then once I figured out that I could, have support and could really lean on other people's mistakes and their journeys and what they were able to accomplish or not accomplish very well.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Investor Fuel is America's #1 mastermind community for professional real estate investors, where hundreds of the top investors from across the country come together to build stronger businesses and stronger lives. Our community is about giving and transformation. If you're ready to take your business to a whole new level, please learn more and schedule a call with us today at investorfuel.com.
Investor Machine is the nation's #1 done-for-you lead source for professional real estate investors, serving many of the highest performing and most respected real estate investors in America. We use a unique approach to data that is truly unlike anything else on the market, then execute your direct mail and skip tracing campaigns for you. Markets are filling up quickly. If you'd like to learn more about our world-class service, please visit investormachine.com. Find out why over 7,000 real estate investors and agents have chosen Carrot to build their website to attract and convert more online motivated seller leads. Visit flipnerd.com/carrot to learn more about how Carrot can help you.
That's when I kind of, went through something that made me say, hey, how can I create a business that could last without me? So 2015 is when I stepped out of my business to move to San Diego. Now we run TV commercials for real estate investors around the country, which is what I love doing. It's something that, not only do I get success out of me and my business, but also helping other people scale their businesses as well.
Yep.
And so yeah, it's been a big evolution and, multiple businesses later. And like you said, multiple war wounds and figuring out, how to navigate through things. And now, I'm at the point where I'm going to have some wounds over here, but then I've got other things over here that are supporting it, that I'm not too worried about it. So yeah, that's kind of, from A to Z a little bit from a high level overview of, kind of where I started and where I am today.
Yeah, that's great. And I'd love people to kind of chat in what they're seeing. I just did a poll of our Investor Fuel members, like, how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 5? And 5 was, it's my best year ever. And 1 was, I'm really struggling right now. And, 2 and 3 were kind of and 4 were kind of in the middle ground there. And it's amazing to see whenever you poll a group of people, like professionals, really, right? There's some people that were struggling, for sure. And there's definitely still some people that are like, this is my best year ever, and we're crushing it right now. And I think, I think you and I know, if you've been around long enough, it's your business is just stronger because it's been tested, it's been stress tested a lot more. And so those that have the right people and processes in place, and maybe the ones that took the last couple of years to kind of get better at dispo and stuff, knowing that the market was going to turn at some point, and dispo would be a more important skill, like having the right processes in place. And let's be honest, the last few years, almost anybody could make money in real estate if you find a deal. It didn't even have to be a great deal. You could still somehow sell it for above market value, some ridiculous stuff, right? And we all knew that those things wouldn't last. I mean, I don't think anybody's surprised that Open Doors stock is at like an all-time low right now. And because you knew they were doing things that just didn't make sense. Like, how are they paying that much for properties? And it's like, well, it didn't make sense, and now we see why, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so let's talk about what I really want to share with everybody is just some wisdom that you have, or that things we've experienced before around a number of areas. So maybe we could start off with just kind of operationally, what do you do differently on your team in a market like this? Like, obviously your acquisitions and dispositions has changed a little bit. Maybe the team structure has changed a little bit. Maybe there's more focus on changing your processes. But just talk about, like, what you've been doing lately, or what you see people doing.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, more money is made in the down market than an up market. So I don't see us having a huge downturn, but those that were counting on $30,000 profits on properties, the property goes down 20 to 30,000, and 3 months, 4 months worth of work and money tied up and marketing dollars, and you don't make any money on properties, it's going to take a toll on you if you have to do that for, the next few months.
Right.
So I don't see the market getting crushed. There might be some that do get crushed. Some markets, we were talking about this earlier before we started recording, is it could be market specific. Wichita, Kansas probably isn't going to see a big downturn. But San Diego, where I live, and some bigger markets that are probably going to see an impact, right? Of maybe 10, 20, 30%, maybe not 30%, but 10 to 20%.
Yeah.
So with that becomes opportunities. Like, even, I looked at the rates yesterday, and I didn't realize they'd risen so high. And so I I got on the phone with my sister, who's my acquisitions manager, and I said, hey, that deal that we just put under contract 10 days ago, I'm like, I don't think the numbers are going to work on it anymore. So I was like, let's just like, I've only backed out of 5 deals, I think, in the last 20 years. Like when I put on something under contract, I'm closing on it, I'm rehabbing it, and I'll rent it out if I have to. And so she called the seller, and the seller's like, I really need to sell this house. I was really dependent on it. What can you guys do? And, my sister's like, well, I don't know. We could probably reduce it 15,000 and make the numbers work. And she's like, well, go back to him and see if he'll do that. So it's like, we just got a $15,000 price reduction on a house that we may have to pay higher interest rates on right now, but I'm hoping that next year rates will go back down, and any properties we refi in the next few months or next, 6 months, whatever it is, as rates go down, we'll refi and get those lower payments down to where we need them to be.
Yeah.
So number one is opportunities. So just think about opportunities. So rather than stopping marketing, obviously if you're in a cash crunch and just can't afford the marketing, that's one thing. But like if you can afford to market right now, because there are going to be some good deals out there.
No doubt.
Investors are not paying as much for properties. Some investors are getting out. There's just going to be a lot of buying opportunities. So staying on the forefront and getting those leads coming in and adjusting your numbers to make the deals work. So, numbers from 3 months ago and especially 6 months ago aren't going to work now. You'll just have to adjust your numbers to make those work. So that's the first thing I would say. And then 2 is just tighten up the ship. I mean, I think this last market, people just got really lax. They were just making tons of money. Probably, I mean, I've been guilty of this when business is going really well. Just hire too many people. You're not looking at your KPIs and your marketing really well. For me, I love just looking at the bottom line and saying, am I making money or not? And kind of adjusting from there.
It's been easy to get sloppy, right?
Oh yeah, totally easy. And so going back to the basics, have I hired too many people? What marketing dollars are working best, and concentrating on those that are, those marketing methods that are doing well, and maybe taking any that aren't doing well and pushing them out the window. Are there projects that we're taking on that we shouldn't have taken on? Like I told you, I've got some deals around the country that I'm cleaning up that, looking back, hindsight, I was depending on the hot market to bring some of these deals even better ARVs, better values at the end. But the investor took so long that they're 9 months in that now prices are going to start dipping in those higher price point properties that we've invested in, that now we're, because we're in second position, we're not in as good a position of. And so we actually stopped doing some of that a few months ago because we were kind of worried about something like this happening in the market. And so, so just anticipating the market and figuring out what is going to be a good strategy moving forward. Flipping houses and wholesaling may have been a great strategy, the last 24 months, just because by the time you bought them and by the time you sold them, they increased 10%, but we're not seeing that now. So you may have to, just wholesale some properties, or you may have to, buy some properties at deep discounts, rent them for a while, and then wait for the rates to come down and the market to get better, and then sell them on the back end later. So those are probably the 2 big things that I would say in this market you need to do is, get leaner and adjust what you're doing right now so that if your revenue does go down, you're prepared for it. And then just figure out how to adjust your numbers and do deals that maybe other people aren't doing, that'll allow you to get better deals just because people are stepping out of the market.
Yeah. One of the early lessons I had after the first couple of years was, a couple people that were kind of mentors or people that have been in the business for decades, is just this realization that they have different exit strategies and different tools they use in different markets, right? I mean, I think for a lot of people that have come in over the past few years that are maybe just wholesalers or just rehabbers, like they kind of had one tool in their tool belt and that's all they did, right? But the people that I've seen in the game for a long time, and some of these guys too, is they just, when it's a seller's market, you do more selling activities because you can. That's where the market's at. When it's more of a buyer's market, you need to do more buying activities, maybe more buy and hold. I know that's not something you can do in every market, but you never stop buying. You just change your strategies. Like you said, buy deeper, and your exit strategies are probably changed based on where you are in the marketplace. So I know like a number of the guys that are in Investor Fuel, in the past couple of years hadn't been keeping rentals, and now they're back to stacking up rentals, which has its own challenges with where interest rates and things are, but they're getting better deals than they have in the past couple of years. So I think, just like people that invest in Wall Street, when the stock market's really hot, some people feel like they need to mitigate some risk and they start buying things that are, a little more, I guess, a little more risk averse or whatever. They just kind of shift strategies, maybe buy more bonds or whatever. And it's the same thing in real estate. Like you just pull different levers during different markets.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think having different exit strategies, when someone comes to me to run TV commercials, I ask them what is their exit strategy. If they have one, I'm like, okay, we can work with that. But if you have multiple, it's going to make your business and your commercials work better. Because if you can buy properties that you can't flip, that you can keep as rentals, or if something happens and you're wholesaling and you need to close on it and do some work to fix it up and resell it and make it a flip. Those are deals that maybe a wholesaler couldn't do. So having multiple exit strategies is super important. And then, there becomes a time where if you're doing really well in one business, figuring out how to create other streams of income, whether it's rental properties or whether it's investing in other businesses. Like I said, I'm fortunate enough that, I've got some deals that may lose, some money because I'm in second position and having to clean up deals for people. But I've got other businesses that are going to float it, and it's not going to be an issue at all. So so there's things you can do to mitigate your risk for sure. It's easier said than done, obviously, because multiple streams of income isn't necessarily easy. People just say it like it's can be really easy, but those are things that you need to look at from a long-term standpoint. And I wish 20 years ago I would have taken some of my profits and invested in things that could be providing some residual income right now. But it's never too late to start.
Yeah. And with the same thing you just said there, that's, I'm grateful that we did keep rentals, and most of them we kept a long time ago. Like in the first 5 years I was in business, we kept a bunch of single family rentals. And in hindsight, I look back and like, why didn't I keep hundreds more? But that's how hindsight works. But I'm grateful for what we have, because truthfully, there's a revenue stream there. There's most of my wealth, on paper at least, is tied up in those assets. And so we have other streams of income that were real estate, just the ones that we, could have rehabbed and made 20, 30, 40 grand. And we said, just stuff in the rental portfolio. And at the time, I remember it was painful. You're kind of making those sacrifices. But, I thought it would pay off some way down the road, and it has. And so I think that's something that only time can kind of show you of like, hey, that was a good decision. But if you're not keeping rentals right now, or if you're in a market that, so I know there's markets that are hard to keep rentals. Obviously, you're in San Diego, and it's not like you're keeping rentals out there, really even doing a lot of activity out there. But you can buy in other markets as well. But I think it's important to have, like you said, multiple streams of income. Even inside of real estate, there's other ways to make money, right? So let's talk a little bit about lead gen. So you do TV, we do some very data specific stuff that's very kind of nichey and very unique in both of our cases, that I think are some of the best strategies you could use going into this market, because they're ones that not everybody can do, not everybody does do, but they're very kind of targeted. Like yours obviously helps people build up brands, and having a brand right now is a lot more powerful than somebody that doesn't, for sure, in a market where it's more turning into more of a buyer's market, and sellers are going to kind of call the people that have built up a strong brand. But what are you doing differently? What are you kind of seeing from a lead gen standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, we've been all in on TV commercials for 10 years now. I started TV commercials 10 years ago in my market. We started helping other real estate investors do TV commercials a couple of years ago, which has been a great business, not only for us, but our clients are absolutely crushing it because it's such a unique lead source. Not a lot of people think about it. And when they do think about it, they think it's too expensive. And if they get through that hurdle, they have to go and negotiate with the stations. And there's just a lot more obstacles that you have to go through to get on TV compared to, cold calling, texting, and some of the other platforms where you can be a real estate investor tomorrow by buying a list and buying a software that can just start dialing for you. Right.
Right.
So, it's something that has helped me throughout the last 10 years navigate through the ups and downs and be more consistent. Our TV commercials are more consistent than anything has ever been in the last 10 years. We've done things that have, come and gone. MLS used to be a great thing. Direct mail was bad for a long time. Then we got with you guys an investor machine and realized that we were telling our TV clients to put as seen on TV on their postcards, and they started seeing an uptick. So then when we started doing direct mail with you guys again, we tied that message in as well, and we're doing really well with postcards again. But postcards and direct mail are the two main things we're doing right now. We're testing some radio and some other things that are more inbound marketing, which is what we like. We like inbound leads.
Yep.
But yeah, TV commercials are something that if you guys have not thought about it, you should. It's, the credibility factor you get from TV commercials is second to none. I think the only thing you can get better than TV commercials is probably Instagram. If you have hundreds of thousands of followers, but you know how hard that is, Mike. That's not something you can do even in a year. Usually it takes years to build that up. The return on investment, the return on time, once you set it up right, or have us set it up for you if you want us to, you don't have to do a lot of work, but answer the phone and that kind of thing. And just the scalability of it too. I mean, we've got several clients that are plugging TV commercials in multiple markets. In fact, I had a conversation with an Investor Fuel member who's launching his second market next week. And he's already called me. He's like, hey man, I think we're looking at a third market. We're doing crazy numbers in the first market, and the second market, we know we're going to do well. And we want to plug in a third market and do acquisitions and dispo virtually. So yeah, I think, for me, direct mail and TV commercials work really well together. If anybody's doing texting and cold calling and doing well at it, I think that's fine. But I would consider other marketing methods to add to it. Because if someone calls me and they're like, hey, I want to do TV commercials, and all they're doing is cold calling and texting, I'm like, I'm glad you called me, because at some point that is going to dry out. Yeah. In fact, we had another Investor Fuel member. We have a lot of clients in Investor Fuel, reached out to us today, and he's like, hey, direct mail in his market and texting and cold calling are drying out, and TV's doing really well. How can we add more TV? And it could be vice versa too. It could be that TV dries out for some people eventually and, doesn't do as well. You just have to have other marketing methods to help supplement the ones that aren't doing well at the time, and diversify that way as well.
Yeah, there's probably no one, I would never advise anybody, just focus on one marketing channel. I mean, certainly for professional, if you're brand new, you got to start with one, right? But if you've been around for a while, you need to have some, multiple lines in the water, if you will, or a different bait on there, because that's really honestly, if I name any successful investor that I could name, there's going to be times where this is working really well, and then times where this is working really well. And unless you have multiple channels going on, you don't see that. Sometimes if you just have one or two channels, you think like everything's down, but you have one channel that's working really well and the other one just isn't for some reason. I mean, it could be a lot of different reasons why. And of course, with texting and cold calling and stuff like that, there's always tech issues or governmental issues. Like there's things that go on. And if you're just over reliant upon any one thing, somebody else could impact that, and it's outside of your control. I mean, fortunately with TV and mail, those things have been around for as long as any of us have been alive, for sure, and aren't going to change anytime soon. But laws could change around texting and cold calling. In fact, they have, right? So not saying you shouldn't do those things, but for folks that were over reliant upon just those things. And on top of that, I do think that there's a lot of what happens in this market is sellers are adjusting to the new market, right? Some are still unrealistic about what their house is worth. And some found somebody, an unscrupulous wholesaler that would just pay them whatever they wanted for it, or say they would pay them whatever they wanted for it, only to have the deal fall through. And in my experience, when people have a deal fall through, they go right to somebody that's credible. And it could be somebody that's using mail, or somebody that had the messaging, came in more professional, whatever it is. They're like, you weren't the highest offer, you weren't the lowest offer they had. They're willing to pay more for somebody that can actually get the job done. So as long as you have that credibility, whether it's in your marketing channel or how you represented yourself on an appointment, people are going to go, they don't want to strike out 3 times. Like they want to, I had one problem and now I'm going to go to the sure thing, even if it wasn't my best offer. You'd agree with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we get deals all the time where they'll call us and maybe one or two other people, and they'll go with us even though our offer is a little bit lower, just because they know we're credible because of our TV commercials and our branding and authority. So,
Yep.
100%. People want solutions, and they don't want to have to call other people. They want to call one person if possible, or even if they call 3 people, they want to choose one person, go with that person, and have them close on the property and not have to call other people. So
Right.
100%.
Yep. So what are you guys doing differently right now from an acquisition standpoint? Are you basically trying to buy a little bit deeper than you have? And maybe talk a little bit about how you've kind of had to train your team on buying deeper in this market.
Yeah, we're just adjusting our numbers a little bit. We actually, luckily, middle of last year, I think, is when we decided to keep almost everything we bought. So instead of flipping it and selling it, we decided to flip it and just add it to the rental portfolio. So a lot of those properties have gone up anywhere from 10 to 30% in value over the last, or maybe probably 10 to 20% in value the last 12 to 24 months. And so what we need to do now is look at our cash flow for those rental properties. Just like I mentioned earlier, we have to, we were getting 4.5 to 4.75% on our loans as of a few months ago. In fact, I think I signed a loan last month that was still in the 4s. Our bank was just really good about like not, increasing rates on us. And then finally, all of our banks came back to us in the last 30 days or so and said, hey, we need to increase. In fact, I got a letter on one of them. It went up to from 5.19% we got 5 years ago, and they wanted to go to 8.19%. And so I made a quick call and I'm like, there's no way. And they're like, okay, we'll do 7.19%. And I'm like, well, I guess that's better than, 8.19.
Yeah,
So we just have to adjust our numbers there. I mean, I think the math on the property that we were, that I mentioned, we had to do a $15,000 price reduction. It was going to be an extra about $100 a month, which isn't the end of the world, but I mean, it still affects your numbers. So for us, we just have to buy it at better discounts. There's going to be some properties in certain price points in certain areas. We know we don't have to lower our numbers because we know the values are still going to be there. We know there's a ton of buyers in that market. So even if the rates go up, we're still going to be able to sell. But in the upper price points, for sure, this was going to be a $215,000 property, I believe. And so we know that, 215 can go under 200 pretty quickly in a market like this if things don't line up. So yeah, that's what it's all about. And then if you're a wholesaler, like for our clients are saying that most of their back end buyers are just decreasing their numbers by 10 to 15%, just as a buffer. And so if you know that your back end buyers are decreasing their numbers by 10 to 15%, then you just have to do the same to make, about the same amount of money you were making before.
Yeah, for wholesalers, you're really just a trader. Like it doesn't really matter if the market's going up or down. You just have to anticipate and try to plan around protecting your spread ultimately, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, I'm not an advocate of somebody just purely being a wholesaler. Back to what we talked about, I think you should find some ways to keep some rentals, and this is probably not the ideal time to get into fix and flipping, but there's always those cherry deals that you just can't really lose on as long as you play your cards right. But you just made me think of something. I was like, I still have some of my rentals still have a little bit of financing on them, and we've had them so long that the rates adjust annually now. I was like, oh crap, we better look into that. So because the rates have been so low, they're going to pop up. So anyway, another task for me to handle on my plate. So let's talk about what other things do you do in this market regards to, let's just say, kind of managing cash. Are you stacking cash for opportunities that are coming up and add a little more kind of cushion for any operational issues? Like, what are you guys doing differently there?
Yeah, we actually dug into financials a few weeks ago, and we cut out a lot of stuff we didn't need. A lot of stuff. I'm like, as a business owner, you think you have things dialed in, and then you're like, man, last year, there's one business, the TV business that I started growing the last year, and we added a bunch of stuff we didn't need to just because, money was coming in, and I thought I needed to add, this and that, and it just all adds up. So a few weeks ago, went through the financials and we just cut a bunch of stuff we didn't need. There's some marketing that wasn't working as well. There were, some overhead that we didn't need, that we just, cut out. And it's not going to make much difference to our business, from a top line perspective, but it's going to help the bottom line.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. I think that's just the biggest thing is, not only adjusting your numbers and doing the things that I said, but just kind of looking at the operations and saying, how can I dial things in better? And I've been in this business 21 years now, and this has happened a few times where I've looked back and said, man, I shouldn't have added this and I should have added that. And then I should have looked at my numbers more often. But those kinds of things happen, and, you just have to adjust. But the good thing about, markets like this is they make you think and they make you become more disciplined. Right. So you have to go back to kind of the drawing board on some things, and you have to go back and look at what you were doing before and say, how can I do things smarter so that I can hopefully make as much money as I did before?
Yeah. This is, I started in 2008, so kind of a down market, right when the market was trending down. And, I believe that this is the best time for real estate investors. You just have to get through this transition period of what's going on, with sellers being a little bit disillusioned of what their house is worth. And some are coming around. On the multifamily side, I've got some friends that are seeing massive price reductions when rates changed, because they had to, like, literally the deals won't work in any way on the multifamily side. And it's just a matter of time before sellers see that. They just, for years they've been hearing in the news about how hot the real estate market is. And now, of course, the best part is the media bangs that drum louder than anybody about how bad the real estate market is. And so it just takes hearing that for a few months for people to start to realize, hey, maybe my house is worth less than it really is. And as you know, like the situations that drive somebody to sell their house at a distressed to a deeply discounted price, like death, divorce, inheritance, problem rentals, all those things, like things we don't wish on anybody. Those things don't follow market cycles. Like, people aren't going to say, nah, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die right now, because then I'll have to sell my house at a discount. Like, that's just not how it works. So those issues are still going on. There's still plenty of opportunities for us. We just have to buy them right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just got to make adjustments. That's what it's all about.
Yep. So let's talk about a little bit about the importance of, you said some of this up front, of really kind of surrounding yourself with the right people. And, I put out a message to my Investor Fuel crew today and essentially said, because I know what happens sometimes with real estate investors, all entrepreneurs, is some ego gets in the way and they're worried about hurting their ego and talking about what's going on. I'm like, guys, like, schedule a call with me, come to Investor Fuel, which is in, just a week and a half from now, and talk about what challenges you're having. Don't hide from that. This is the time how we can all help each other. And I think we're in an industry typically where there's a lot more chest thumping and people don't want to share the negative side because they're, it's going to bruise their ego, if you will. Our group isn't like that at all, but it really takes kind of surrounding yourself with truly friends, people that can really help you get through some tough times. I know you've been there before, and I've been there before, but just talk a little bit about the importance of kind of being around a peer group that can help you weather storms or help kind of work things out when you may not be able to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, totally. Having support is something I didn't have for at least 10 years of my business. I think it was closer to like 12 or 13. And what I mean by that is that I just kind of put my head down and I grinded. And, if I had issues, I figured them out myself. I thought if I had cash flow issues that, I was the only one, everyone else is all making all this money, and I had these thoughts in my head and then once I started getting around other people and talking about it, it's like, oh, wow. That person's I thought that person was, doing 100 deals a year, is crushing it, but they're having cash flow issues. Right. So it kind of makes you, you don't want to see that obviously, but it makes you feel like you're not alone. And then at the same time, it's like, okay, you've got some struggles. How can you navigate through those struggles easier and faster? And typically by finding someone who's been there before, or you can at least give a perspective to, and they can give the perspective back of, hey, why don't you try this? Or even just knowing that people are there, like, hey man, if you need anything, let me know. Like, I've been there before, I've had struggles, or maybe I'm struggling now, kind of thing. So yeah, there's multiple reasons that you need to surround yourself with good people. And it's priceless. I'll be at Investor Fuel here in a couple of weeks. So it'll be kind of nice to see what everybody else is doing around the country, to navigate through what's going on. And that'll help me with perspective. Okay, what are some things that I need to think of that maybe I wasn't thinking of that I need to think about moving forward. So, there's masterminds, there's coaches, there's mentors, anybody who is willing to take you under their wing that maybe has 10 to 15 years more experience that you do, that, you can ask these questions to, that have been there and done that. It's super important to have that, because again, so I've been in business about 21 years now. So 13 years, man, I think 12 to 13 years is how long it took me to find a peer group and to really start reaching out to other people and saying, hey, I need some help. And how can you help me? And how can I learn from you and maybe some of the mistakes that you've made as well?
Yeah. It's real easy to like think you've got it figured out, and then you don't, and you just get, I'm sure this happened to you too, where you hear an idea at a mastermind or at Investor Fuel, for example, and it's such a simple idea, but you just didn't think about it. It's like, gosh, that's so obvious, but I didn't think about it until I got around other people that were talking about some of the challenges they're having, right? And it's like, it's just invaluable to be able to get little pieces of info here and there. It's not like absorbing everything. It's just the little nuggets that are like, you know what, I don't know why I didn't think about that. That's what I need to do. Or I've been thinking about that and somebody just confirmed that, yeah, this is what they did and it worked out for them, or whatever it might be, right? And so just knowing that you're not alone, because it's real easy to be out on an island thinking that you know how to navigate things, and then just to get blindsided. I mean, it's real easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like TV commercials, when I joined Investor Fuel, there was only one person doing TV around the country in your whole group. And so, we started implementing TV commercials for other investors, and then, people would come and see other people's, what they were doing and all of that. Now we have 27 people in Investor Fuel we're running TV commercials for.
Wow.
And had they not gone to your mastermind and seen what other people were having success with, and they wouldn't have came to us and said, hey, can you help us with our commercials as well? So just the little strategies, the little adjustments you can make, that can because like I said, if I wouldn't have started TV commercials 10 years ago, for instance, like little things like that you make those decisions of, okay, I'm going to try this. I don't know that I'd be in business today from a real estate investing standpoint, just because there's so many other marketing mediums that have gone away that
Right.
TV's kind of carried me through for the last 10 years.
Yep. Awesome. Well, Tony, hey, thanks for sharing your insights today. Folks, if you're listening right now, if you're listening live, you can find out about our past shows and our current live show, or our next live show, I guess, by going to flipnerd.com/group. You can opt in and we'll send you notifications of upcoming live shows like this, because we love when people participate live. Tony, if folks wanted to connect with you, where can they go to learn more?
So the big thing we're doing right now, like I said, is TV commercials for real estate investors. So you can go to remtv.com, stands for Real Estate Masters. So remtv.com. And then my website, where you can see more about me and everything else that I do, is tonyjavier.com, TonyJavier.com. Awesome.
Well, hey, thanks for sharing your insights with us, your knowledge of being an investor for 21 years now. You're I was going to say something about age, but I won't even joke. I know we're probably roughly the same age, but I won't make any jokes about that. So awesome, man. Hey, thanks for sharing your insights today. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yep. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you, man. And look forward to connecting soon again.
Yep. And everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next one. If you go to flipnerd.com/group, you can opt in and get notifications about the next live show. Of course, we have a ton of information on flipnerd.com. We talked a little bit about Investor Fuel today, which is my mastermind, which is coming up in about a week and a half, actually. But we have meetings. Actually, we meet weekly online and quarterly in person. So you can learn more about that at investorfuel.com. So hope you got some great value today. Stay strong in this market. There's plenty of opportunities on the other side of this thing, I promise you. And so just make sure you stay strong. So we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining me on today's Flip Nerd Live. To get access to our upcoming interviews with experts and get your questions answered and join our free online community, please visit flipnerd.com/live. Thanks again to our sponsors. Investor Fuel is America's #1 mastermind community for professional real estate investors, where hundreds of the top investors from across the country come together to build stronger businesses and stronger lives. Our community is about giving and transformation. If you're ready to take your business to a whole new level, please learn more and schedule a call with us today at investorfuel.com. Investor Machine is the nation's #1 done-for-you lead source for professional real estate investors, serving many of the highest performing and most respected real estate investors in America. We use a unique approach to data that is truly unlike anything else on the market, then execute your direct mail and skip tracing campaigns for you. Markets are filling up quickly. If you'd like to learn more about our world-class service, please visit investormachine.com. Find out why over 7,000 real estate investors and agents have chosen Carrot to build their website to attract and convert more online motivated seller leads. Visit flipnerd.com/carrot to learn more about how Carrot can help you. We look forward to seeing you on the next Flipnerd Live Real Estate Investor Training. Please make sure to join our free community so you can join us live at flipnerd.com/live.